Well, Lisa, congratulations on the first 5 episodes I've seen so far of season 3, and you've left us on quite a cliffhanger.
Yeah, quite a cliffhanger.
So, taking you back when the idea for Young Royals first came to you, was there always that queer love story at the center, and also what your approach as a writer has been to the character's sexuality, to Simon and Wilhelm's sexuality?
Well, I mean, of course, yes. I think for the like proper Young Royals heads, they know that it was the production company that kind of pitched me what then became Young Royals, and what was in that document. It was completely different. It was another genre, other characters, but they did have a prince that maybe was queer, and it was at a boarding school. So that's what I took with me from that pitch. And then I recreated what then is the show now. And for me, that was what started the whole question in me, because I've had these, there are always rumors about royalties, and I've never really thought about the fact that Sweden is a monarchy. Like in school, I can't even remember that we even spoke about what it meant, or how it was a part of democracy. So it just stuck with me, like, yeah, what would actually happen? Like, I've never actually seen a fictionalized story about the Swedish royal family, which actually brings up these questions about, how we are born into roles in society. We are born into a social class and an ethnicity and a sexuality in many ways, and a gender, and whatever it is, and that, how does that affect our life choices and who we can become or not become? And I was just like, okay, this is the perfect story to explore that, and to take the queerness that I would have loved to see with my friends when I grew up, and just bring up these topics. So that's, yeah, it's always been a queer love story.
Yes, but I love how you mention it as just one element in these characters' lives, and it's just as it is just this one part of our identity. It might be a really important one, but it isn't sort of everything that that completely defines us.
No, we can there can be more things at a time, and I also think it says like something so much about our society, and yeah, our options and our ideas of, are we shaped by our biology or by our environment? And it's just so infinitely interesting to me, out of all the aspects, and that's what we've also in this third season, we've really been able to highlight that even more, and to bring it into the school, and to have all those nuances there, even if it's been there throughout the show. But yeah, and I mean, obviously, like, still for Wilhelm, his biggest issue isn't his, like, it's not the queerness, it's his role as crown prince, but his queerness makes him have to rethink these structures and this history and this narrative that he has never really thought about. His big brother Eric maybe didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting.
And there's so much going on in this season, as always. But my favorite scenes are just when we get to see Simon and Wilhelm alone. I wonder what are those scenes like to write?
Well, I mean, it's some of my favorite scenes to write as well, and it's always so funny. Like, one of my favorite scenes is the baking scene this season, and it was really hard to, like, every scene I make or my team makes, like, that we talk about and that we keep, it's questioned out of like a budget. From a budget perspective, you have to be able to tell the necessity of each scene, because otherwise it'll be cut. And people were like, why are we doing this baking scene? Like, it serves no purpose in the story. And I was like, I just need them to bake. Like, I've just got it in my head now, and I need a little bit of in episode 3, a little bit of a bridge between those two things. And it's so amazing to write these characters, because it's kind of like in my head, they are both still these fictional characters that I've, lived with before we casted Edvin and Omar and everyone. But now they are also like another layer to it, and that's how I like what I know that they can achieve. So I mean, for me, a script has to be inspiring and it has to make the whole team. It should be a good reading experience, and it has to make everyone feel like we know what we're telling and we know what we're doing. And it's also a technical instruction for the team, but it's also something we can constantly change and improve and try and have fun with, as long as we all know where a scene is heading and the energies that we are coming in and out with of the scene. And that's what's beautiful with our actors. We can always improvise because they're so amazing. So it also gives a lot of edge to those scenes.
Yeah, what has it been like seeing Edvin and Omar bring these characters to life across these 3 seasons? And did you see them bringing something new this time?
Oh, absolutely. I think I actually understood who they were as actors this season because they've also done such a big journey together. I think this season was so fueled by um, like creative, comfortable, trustworthy, like a force. And it was so amazing. But like the first season was really stressful to make. It was a lot of pressure on everyone, and I was almost like gaslighting myself into thinking that like, oh, you have to like really overwork yourself to be able to say that you've pushed it, like pushed everything you can. And then when we came into the second season, I like sat down with the producers and were like, how can we reshape this? What mistakes are we not allowed to do again that we did on the first season, production wise? And we just went through everything, and it was much better the second season. And then this season, it was like everything clicked. I'm so like proud of the like production part of it, and it really shows like every single take with the actors this season is brilliant, like all of it. And they are very different, like personality wise, but when they're in front of the camera, you can really see also the steps they've taken in their professionality and in their skills. And suddenly you're like, we can do anything. That's how they make me feel. And that's very inspiring as a writer to have.
Yes. Well, like we were saying, there's a lot going on. There's high stakes, a lot of drama and intrigue. But you managed to keep things feeling quite grounded. And I wonder if you could touch on how you do that. One thing for me, I think the handheld camera helps for
Of
me to make
course.
things feel real. Yeah.
And I think it's the camera, it's the lighting, it's our set design, it's our costume designer, it's our makeup, it's every like the whole team is so brilliant at getting this story across and finding nuances and depth in from the script and from our discussions. And it's often the case that they also come with things like, oh, actually, we can say that in with our set design. You don't have to have that in the line. Like all of the things that they come with is so valuable to me. Um, and I do think it's, especially this season, I am really proud that it really feels like the pacing is so where it should be. Like you say, like, yes, it is very like high stakes. And it's been that throughout. I mean, the first season, his brother dies, he's crown prince, like it's so dramatic. Um, but it is finding the, like, the everyday life in the school around them. And um, I do think that's beautiful. Like the costume this season, for example, it's actually very synchronized in a way. Like all of our extras have their own wardrobes, which is very uncommon. Like we don't usually do that. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like, oh, it was a thought. We're trying to make something completely crazy. It is very realistic in everything else than maybe some of the story elements. And I think that is the balance that I love with our show, and that we've been managed to create together, that I am also super proud of everyone who's been achieving that. Even the lighting this season, I don't know, but it's so good. Like I
Yes.
usually have a few shots here and there where you're like, oh, actually, we need to redo this. This season, it's just perfect.
And how about the music? Because that's another really important element. And when the song Arcade comes in at one point, that really hit me. But yeah, the score and the song choices.
Yeah, I mean, we have a great music supervisor and we have a great composer. And I do think this season we really played also with silences a lot more than we have. We have let some scenes be very quiet, and then like, you know, being very particular about our music choice when it actually comes in. And I mean, Matti Bia, who is the composer with his team for Young Royals, I mean, I've loved his music since season one, and we also find every season we've been like, okay, how do we tweak it? How do we make it slightly new all the time? So you're constantly feeling that this world is building and building and building and becoming bigger and bigger, and not just stick with what works just because it works, you know. And I mean, like Jerry Carlson, one of the three directors this season, who is brilliant and who's done actually a lot of great queer short films before. He told me, and I never really thought about it like that, but he was like, well, you know, you have to imagine like the series as 100% with like the image and the sound and the music, but then you have to give it different percentages in different scene. You can't have 100% of everything. It needs to be like 50%, you know, what we see, 25% what we hear in the surround, you know, like, and of course that's, you know, I know that that's right, but he just put it into words that I was like, oh yes, that's why I'm feeling like, that's why I'm telling you, actually, should we just try to be quiet in this take? Yeah, like it's a beautiful way to collaborate and to find the balance within the show.
And were you able to be on set for when the final shot of the season and the series was happening?
Yes.
Maybe you can tell me what it was, maybe not, but what was the atmosphere like on set?
Oh, well, this season I'm also executive producing, which has been such a amazing journey. I've loved to do this role of both being like the head writer and producing. So I was at set a lot this season, almost every day. And the last day of the shoot was uh, like, I've never cried so much in my entire life. It was one of the last scenes, but not the very last one that we did on that day. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, we did take. No, yeah, actually, we did do that. I cried so much that all the pictures from that day, I'm just like swollen. Like I'm just walking around like I look crazy in the documentary they've made. Like I'm just crying in the corners, like everywhere. Like it's ridiculous. Uh, but it was very heartbreaking because because the last scene was with Wilhelm and Simon, like Edvin and Omar. It was literally us saying goodbye to each other as colleagues, but also, you know, to the characters that we've all been part of creating in this team, and it was spectacular. And the scenes that we shot are spectacular, and it's amazing when you both get to feel like the vibe on set is so amazing. Like everyone is having the best time. Everyone is sitting and crying. Everyone is just like hugging each other. I was having goosebumps. You know, it was so beautiful. And it's probably one of the things that I will carry with me the most from this entire work. I felt like I felt so blessed to have been part of this. You know.
It's making me emotional now just hearing about it. So I think I would have been crying on set too. Well, Lisa, thanks so much for this conversation and of course
Yes.
for Young
Thank
Royals.
you so much. And I love the queer review, and you're all doing an amazing job. So thank you so much for spreading the love.
Okay, thanks, Lisa.